Okay, so I've been looking through my old photos, and some of these are from university. I was wanting more, but they seem to have gone missing. They were on the hard drive, and I've looked many times, but I couldn't find the ones I wanted. And of course, university had a lot of like overtones of when I was drinking and all that sort of stuff. So there is a video on recovery and my story there. And what I want to focus on now, though, is like self-taught versus learning in university. And technically, I'm not self-taught, and I just wanted to sort of talk about my story, because I was expecting university to teach me really how to draw, how to paint, and it did give you some techniques with life drawing and certain like drawing negative spaces and that sort of thing, but it didn't really teach me like exactly how to paint, and I was expecting the first year to really hone in on that. And so I do feel self-taught still, despite having college and a degree in art, in illustration, which at that time was more kind of character-based and narrative-based, and I used to like sort of looking at how people move and climbing and how the movement of that character and the weight of who they are. And I still like that to a certain point, but I just create and paint in a completely different way now, where it's more subject matter than the narrative of that person, although I still have little silly drawings around like comics and stuff, but that's just to amuse myself, really. So it's become more of creating an image than creating like a story or narrative. And back then it was much more like therapy and emotion based. So I went to university in Swansea, next to the beach, and the drinking culture over there is completely different, and I would have had trouble anyway, but yeah, it got pretty crazy there. And then I did a bit of surfing, and these are my photos that were taken from that time, some afterwards. And the thing about university is you're really still finding who you are. So I was still trying to discover who I was as an artist. I was still trying to discover who I was as a person. And at the time, I was just really enjoying being away from home and getting to know people. I had a set of about 5 friends that we used to hang out a lot. Still in touch with them, sort of, and just haven't seen them for a very long time. And some are getting married now. And it's been really interesting looking back, actually, and sort of seeing how how things that we thought were just normal in present day at the time have now, the time is it's become past and old, and so university would start with you'd have your own desk and you'd set it up the way you wanted and have it very inspiring and all the things around you, and then you'd maybe have like some lectures and different things throughout the day, different skills like darkroom photography, which I did in college and university. I did that one. And then we had life drawing, which was like 4 hours a week. So you got very used to that in the end. And that was probably my favourite class, was the life drawing. And having full big easels to really play around with, rather than just sat with a sketchbook, you don't really get that anymore. So that was a great facility, and I really enjoyed my time at university. And back then it was a lot of narrative based stuff, so editorials and figuring out who this person was and little scenarios and things. I also climbed a lot during university, and especially in the third year, where I almost got a third in my degree, or at least that's what they predicted. And then I just played the game and gave them a lot more research of sketchbook work and showing how my ideas formed, even though they probably just came straight to me, really, as they usually do now. And yeah, an art degree is a very weird one, because you have to show how you got there, and thankfully I don't have to do that now. I just have to go, yeah, do you like it? Cool. We don't need to show how I got there, as long as you like the image at the end. A couple of years later I was still doing karate, and I did that after the climbing, and this is a photo from the Greenbelt grading where I had concussion and could barely walk afterwards after a 4.5-5 hour grading of a lot of fitness and different sparring and throws, and that particular grading you have to break a board for, and that was the easy part. The rest was really quite taxing, and now it's more, I've switched to CrossFit after dislocating my shoulder for the second time, and that's more quick bursts of energy. And it's interesting looking back over all my work, because back then it was definitely more like an emotional thing, therapy and getting my ideas out, whereas while I still have that, that's kind of more my personal work, and then my work that I put out there more often is more about the image and the looking at the world through my lens, the way I see it, and more about texture and form. So it's changed a bit over the years, and it'll probably change again in the next decade. So university was was still a happy memory, but I wish I could kind of go for it again now that I know myself better. So what were your experiences of your university days? Do you see it as being very young now, looking back on it, and would you want to do a degree now? So I think I would love to go through university again, although I don't think art will give me anything more at this stage. I would like to go on like little artist retreats rather than get a piece of paper. So I'd rather find a workshop to learn like a skill that I want to learn or something like that, because it's one big lifelong learning, and I do want to learn more, but I probably wouldn't do it for the academic, getting that paper. I find something that you just do it for the love of learning the technical aspects, because there's always more to learn. So it's been great looking back over these older photos and that life, and looking at, I kind of miss the sea in a way, although I really wanted to go into Falmouth in Cornwall for university, but I just didn't get in past the interview. So love the sea, love quaint little villages and boats and things, but it is good to get back to the city and have the facilities as well. So technically not self-taught, but I do feel like I learned a lot after university, and I did even ask them at graduation, like, how do I do this? Oh, okay, I already know it, but I didn't know I already knew it. And right, so somehow the end of the footage is missing, so I don't quite know what my last 10 seconds of thought was at that time, but it's been wonderful looking through the footage and the old photos that I could find with university. It was a good time, and being amongst other artists was what's special, being able to be creative every day and have facilities and rooms where I could create my artwork without having to worry about space and things. So there were some amazing connections and facilities in university. I just wish that I'd been taught more. So that's my little story of having gone through an illustration degree, and hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gave you some sort of insight to where I started all those years ago, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.